thank you for joining me. That was an interesting chat with NHS, I think it was Dr. Patrick Hart from Just Stop Will. And as I said, I'm not here to be combative. I just wanted to find out what they want to do, whether it's achievable or not, and why they're doing what they do. What I do think was interesting about that talk is my view from reading the press was that these Just Stop Will people were kind of ne'er-do-wells, uni students and people who, I hadn't realised that there are professional people involved as well. That's why I like actually talking to people to find out where they're coming from and why they're doing what they're doing, and getting a really good view, because we have to realise that a lot of media, print and otherwise, is involved. It's a business, and businesses push certain views for certain reasons. And you could say that of me. I'm not pushing anything. I just want to ask people. I just like hearing where people are coming from. Let's talk about the cost of living crisis and how it affects various groups that we probably don't even think about. It's almost a hidden disability. I'm talking about epilepsy. About 50 million people around the world have epilepsy, according to the World Health Organization, and it affects people of all ages, and there are all sorts of side effects, memory problems, sometimes hearing disability, learning disabilities, and of course mental health issues often that come with that. Well, there's a lot of things that are difficult. Now, one of the things that I believe exacerbates, and I'm going to be talking to somebody who knows much better than me, someone who has a lived experience as well as somebody from the Epilepsy Action Group, but added stress, things like what we've seen going on now with the cost of living crisis, creates further seizures and what have you. It exacerbates many health problems, and this is one of them. So I really wanted to look at that. Plus, when we talk about universal credit, when we talk about changes that are made, I wanted to get an in-person view of how that affects somebody in this situation. So joining me now is Daniel Jennings, who's Senior Policy and Campaigns Officer at Epilepsy Action, and Murray Golder, who actually has epilepsy or lives with epilepsy. And if I get the words wrong, Murray, I'm sure you'll put me right. Murray, talk me through about your experience, how you found out you had epilepsy and how it affects you, because I'm aware it can affect many different people in many different ways.
Afternoon, Trisha. Thanks for having me on. Well, I've had epilepsy now for 26 years. When I first found out I had it, I was learning to drive and I lost control of the car for 2 minutes, but I didn't know. Luckily, someone was in the car. And when I first started having my seizures, I was having 6 a day. After lots of different trials of medication, I'm now down to what I thought was 5 or 6 a month, sometimes 10 a month. But I've got a device attached to my head at the moment. It's actually recording 25. So, I have absent seizures as well. So they're the ones where if I was to have a seizure now, you probably wouldn't even see it. I would just glaze out for maybe 20 seconds. But if I was walking, I would continue to walk. So I can be autonomous. It's very strange. But I don't know what it looks like.
So what's the device? What's the device that you just showed us? It's in your ear and on your head. What's that?
It's an implant. It's a subcutaneous EEG. So when you see people in hospitals and they've got lots of wires attached to their head, they can be. I've been in hospital for sometimes a week at a time to monitor my seizures. Sometimes they've captured them, sometimes they haven't. This device is monitoring me all of the time to study and capture muscle movements and stuff like that, to try and use algorithms to see in the future when they're going to happen next. So it's a fantastic bit of kit. It's just to study and see if my medications can change, because my at the moment my epilepsy is not going to go away. So at the moment I'm trusting that. I've seen a bit in the news today about a potential laser treatment in the BBC, which looks interesting, very interesting, because I'm one of those people that, unfortunately medication just hasn't worked at the moment, but I can live with it. I work.
Yeah, do you know? I was going to say, do you know when a seizure's coming on? And as you say, you do work. So do you know?
I don't get enough. You hear about people getting auras, they get smells, they get certain things. Mine feels like. Have you ever been on a roller coaster?
Yeah.
So that bit when you get to the top of a roller coaster, you get top to the dip, and you're just about to go over, and you get that rising sensation in your stomach. I get that, but it's milliseconds before it happens. And I say to my wife, I've just had a seizure. When I say that, it then happens. So I don't really get a lot of chance to prepare. But the problem with me is that because I told you that I continue to walk, I've almost walked off of train platforms. Yeah. So it's dangerous. Oh, yeah.
And how does you say you're working now? But how does the cost of living crisis? I mean, it's pressure on everyone, but what are probably some things that the rest of us haven't even considered, how in ways in which it affects you?
Well, people with epilepsy, we get assessed for personal independence payments if your epilepsy qualifies for that. So up to a point, I wasn't getting any help. So over the 26 years, I didn't get my mother, who's not with us anymore, but we weren't getting any help. And only in the last few years, I managed to challenge the government to, in 2019, I challenged and got PIP. And I receive a certain amount of money every month, and say I get this X amount of money, and £400 a month goes purely towards travel. And then I get my prescription medication to go towards trying to prevent my seizures, but then I have to spend £70 a month purely on painkillers because I get severe headaches. So that's every single month that goes out. Then the cost of heating and electricity, mine's just gone up about £53 a month. So you've already lost the PIP. That's gone, totally gone. And then you've just got to think about sort of your extras, anything else after that. But the thing that's really worrying me at the moment is last year I was given, I just went away and looked at this, I was given by the government 6 days last December to provide all of my FME, my further medical evidence, they basically said, we're going to cut off your PIP. We're going to stop it. And you've got 6 days to provide further medical evidence as to why you should continue to receive it. Bearing in mind, I've got brain damage. And then I gave them this evidence, and I also had to provide this to the blue badge people because I had a badge for 2 years. And this week, I had my blue badge revoked as well. So the government...
for people who don't know...
Yeah.
So people who don't know, just quickly tell us, what's the blue badge? What does that do?
The blue badge is just for your parking and stuff like that. So I'm only saying this because people. So
you can drive. So you.
I can't drive. The reason I've got a blue badge is because of the thing about the walking. It's the risk. The risk for me towards my wife drives me places. Yeah. So I applied for one, I got one, but I had one for 2 years, so I qualify for that. There's a cost associated. They've taken that away because they now say I don't qualify. They sent me paperwork this week, and the paperwork is all about walking. It doesn't mention anything about hidden illnesses such as.
Let me come to Daniel.
I was just going to say the concern.
Let me come to Daniel just for a second.
I was just going to say the concern.
Sorry to jump in there, Daniel. Yeah. Okay, just leave it there for a minute, Murray. And let me just say to my producer, I don't know about you speaking there, Murray, but I don't like that we've put, and I do apologise, an epileptic. You are not an epileptic. That really upsets me that it's there. I do apologise. You are someone living with epilepsy, so maybe we can just take that off. I don't like labels. I don't know about how you feel, Daniel. Am I being overly sensitive?
No, I think that's an important point. It's kind of language that we try and avoid using wherever possible. It is, like you say, it's someone living with the condition rather than it defining them.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the added problems? We've heard already that, with Murray, this has got to cause added stress. Is stress, and on top of all of these different things, is that also something which can trigger more seizures?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know that stress is one of the main seizure triggers, along with lack of sleep and missing meals. And of course, those are all things that people with epilepsy are going to be dealing with as a result of the cost of living crisis.
Right. So, and as well as employment, I mean, is that becoming more difficult? Because again, as we heard, Murray works, he's employed, but obviously you need some extra support in order to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the moment, only 42% of people with epilepsy are in employment, which is one of the lowest employment rates for disability conditions. Wow. So really, we need more kind of employment support for people with epilepsy and less stigma and misunderstanding from employers to get people with epilepsy into work and importantly, get them to stay into work, because we've heard from so many people who have been diagnosed with epilepsy whilst in a job and then subsequently forced out because of their condition and that misunderstanding from employers. Yeah, absolutely.
What is it? What are the main? I'm shocked. What are the main misunderstandings? What's the stigma? What do they think? What are they frightened of? That it will give them, they'll be liable for something, or a person is a danger.
Yeah, the concerns about the rising cost of their own insurance, the worries about employees not knowing what to do if someone has a seizure, and the kind of some of the misunderstandings are that everyone with epilepsy is photosensitive, when it's only 3% of people with epilepsy. That everyone with epilepsy will have what's called a tonic-clonic seizure, where they'll fall to the ground. And there are so many other different types of seizures, like Murray has mentioned, that aren't recognised and understood properly by employers and the general public, really. So it's we need to address those kind of misunderstandings and that stigma around the condition, particularly with employers, because for many people with epilepsy, there's no reason why they can't be in work, with even just kind of minor adjustments and a bit more flexibility. So actually, during the pandemic, we've seen that kind of flexible approach, allowing people to work from home more, that has actually helped improve the employment rate for people with epilepsy. So just 2 years ago, it was only 32%, and now it's gone up to 42%. So there is an improvement there, but that's still a really low figure that needs to rise quite significantly.
And coming back to just Murray, just listening to you, I've learned so much, and I think, you're absolutely right, Daniel. People have all sorts of misconceptions or just big gaps. And I saw you nodding away there, Murray, at certain things about staying in work. You've obviously got an employer who embraces you, but you were nodding that so many people are forced out of work once, they've been diagnosed with epilepsy.
I've worked with the same employer now for pretty much since my teens, and they're very, very understanding. They embrace people with disability, and the job that I do actually involves coaching people on how to deal with people with disabilities. We have a working group as well, so we champion helping people in our workplace anyway. So I think they've always been supportive of me, and we actually, we try to promote people with conditions to get help. So I look at it in two different ways. So, if you've got a condition and you don't understand it, we look at it both ways. Go and see your specialist. If you're not sure look at it both ways. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's brilliant. So, what can we name your wonderful employer? I think we should give hats off to employers who are doing the right thing. Is that okay? Yeah,
it's Royal Mail and Parcel Force. Yeah, very inclusive.
Oh, there you go. Wow. So there obviously are examples of how companies can do it. So just to finish up, we talked about stress being a major thing. and I think from what this conversation has shown, information, just people like yourself, Murray, actually talking about it opens people's eyes and gets people to understand. So just to finish off, I'll give if you don't mind, Daniel, I'll give the last word to Murray. What would you ask people to what's a major message you could get people to just think about? Because in many ways it's a hidden disability, isn't it? Until you find out somebody may have epilepsy. What's one of the major messages you would give?
If you, from the person with it?
Yeah, from you.
From me, okay. So don't let the condition rule you. It is scary when you first start to experience it. Talk to people about the condition. My own experience is, I know lots of people don't like to talk about it, but I actually find it's better to teach people about it, because those people might need to help you one day. And speak to
Thank
places
you so
like
much, and indeed you have.
Yeah.
No, thank you. No, again, sorry, because time's always of the essence here, but you put it very, very succinctly. I do thank both of you for definitely educating me, and I'm sure all our listeners and viewers, about epilepsy and just disabusing us of some of our stereotypes. So thank you again. Murray Golder, thank you so much for your time, and the Royal Mail, hats off to you. And Daniel Jennings, Senior Policy and Campaigns Officer at Epilepsy Action. Thank you both for joining us. Stay with us.